Well, General Nikolai Makarov, chief of Russia's general staff, says the United States may attack Iran. What would happen if this invasion takes place? Well, here to talk to me about it is investigative journalist and RT contributor Wayne Madsen. Wayne, thank you so much for joining me. So first of all, I want to ask you, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has repeatedly denied that the United States is going to attack Iran. But why do you think the Russian officials are so, they believe that this will happen?
Well, General Makarov, the head of the general staff in Russia, said he got this information from Admiral Mullen, the chairman of our Joint Chiefs of Staff. I find it unusual, though, that at the same time Hillary Clinton yesterday was at a town hall meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and stated that wouldn't it be nice to have a similar town hall meeting like this in Tehran. At the same time, we've got this information coming out about Admiral Mullen talking about a U.S. attack on Iran. We have Mrs. Clinton talking about Iran as a military dictatorship. If they were serious, Mrs. Clinton, for example, could reestablish U.S. diplomatic relations with Iran, open the U.S. embassy in Tehran, open an Iranian embassy here in Washington, and move to freeze the, unfreeze the Iranian assets at the International Arbitration Court in The Hague that have been frozen since the time of the seize of the U.S. embassy by Iranian students in Tehran. These are positive steps she could make, but the rhetoric, I think, is just showing that the U.S. is not, does not appear to be a serious negotiating partner for Iran.
So is there any actual evidence that the United States is preparing to strike Iran?
Well, certainly we have a huge buildup of forces in the Gulf. We have pre-positioned weaponry in Qatar at the Al Udeid Air Base. We have also supplies and troops all over the region, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, all through the Gulf, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait. So yes, we have the forces in the area, but the minute we would attack Iran, General Odierno, the head of U.S. forces in Iraq, just said recently that Ahmed Chalabi, who was so instrumental in getting into that quagmire in Iraq, has direct ties to the Iranian government. So Iran could cause a huge conflagration in Iraq. We would not be pulling out of that country anytime soon. And there are significant Shia minorities throughout the Gulf, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates, and in the Saudi Eastern province. If they were to incite those minorities, we could see a shutdown of the oil flow. They could block the Strait of Hormuz. We could see a huge increase in the price of oil and natural gas. So I wonder if the rhetoric is actually going along with realism here with these comments we're hearing out of U.S. officials.
Well, I'm glad you brought those oil prices up, because I was going to ask you, what would be the consequences of a United States strike on Iran for the rest of the world?
Well, I mean, there'd be huge increases in energy prices. It would affect the markets around the world. But for the purposes of our troops in the area, we would see the death toll go much higher, because if Iran, as I said, notified its cells in Iraq and in Afghanistan and throughout the Gulf to go after U.S. forces in what they call asymmetrical warfare, we would see a huge increase in casualties, and also the U.S. having to remain in the region for a long time. And that's, of course, all tied to the election this year. And I don't think the Obama administration would want 3 wars with an additional proxy war in Yemen at the same time. I think they would see huge electoral defeats at the polls.
Thank you so much for joining me, Wayne. And of course, tensions rising between the United States and Iran.